Yes, people, Wife Boy, and today I'm talking about whether my club Arsenal can actually win the Premier League this season. Let me know in the comment section down below whether you believe Arsenal are going to win the Premier League, and make sure you subscribe on my road to 2000 if you love Arsenal Football Club. So yes, Arsenal did beat Brighton on New Year's Eve, while Man City drew to Everton Football Club. So what comes from that? Arsenal are 7 points clear at the top of the Premier League table with around just over 20 Premier League games to go. Can we go all the way? Well, today I'm going to discuss my thoughts on it. I'm going to look at the Premier League table, look at the style and how well both teams are playing, and also look at the fixtures coming up to predict where we believe the table will be in a couple months' time. So let's start with the style of both teams. Arsenal, we know, play very similar football to Man City. We've already talked about how Zinchenko tucks in and becomes like another centre mid, just like he did at Man City as we play possession style football. But I do believe Arsenal playing a better brand of football right now to Man City. Man City have the match winners in their squad, the likes of the Bruynes, the Haalands, but overall Arsenal's team is cooking. We're all looking good, we're getting goal contributions from every area of the pitch, and we're controlling matches from start to finish. That's the most important thing for me. Our football is sustainable. We're one of the few teams in this league that are getting results correlating to how we are playing. We've already talked about how the Premier League is one of the most competitive leagues in the world, especially this season. A lot of teams are picking up results when they don't necessarily deserve it, and their style of football and the way they've approached the game does not necessarily correlate to the points they're getting. You only just have to look at Liverpool, for example, against Leicester. Didn't play amazing, Leicester looked the bigger threat on the counter-attack, but 2 own goals gave them the victory. Man City this season have done exactly the same thing. They've scraped by in certain games. People say, oh, it's the mark of champions. Yeah, I guess you're right. They beat Leicester off a De Bruyne wonder-class free kick. They also beat Fulham off a last-minute penalty by Erling Haaland. So Man City are scraping results. As opposed to Arsenal, we've played 16 games or 17 games this Premier League season now. We've only dropped points in 2 games, against Southampton and against Manchester United. And the only game where Arsenal really got more than they deserved was against Leeds United away, where we won 1-0, and to be honest, we hung on in the second half. We did. They missed a penalty and everything. We hung on. Every other game this season, Arsenal played really well and have deserved exactly what they got, or potentially even more. I think even in the games we dropped points against Southampton United, we probably deserve more from that football game. So Arsenal's expected points to the points actually achieved is around equal, if not slightly under to what we should achieve. Whereas a lot of other teams, they're getting more points than they should actually achieve. Their football's not sustainable. Look at Tottenham, for example. They've had poor results recently, but their football style as a whole has been horrible this season. Fossil football for the first 60, 70 minutes, and they only turn it on towards the end. Man City are also one of those teams that are scraping past at times this season. And we all know their football is sustainable, their style of football is beautiful, but they're not really hitting any type of form this season so far, Man City. So in that favour, in terms of the current form and the current style of play, Arsenal are beating Man City to it. The scary thing about Man City is we know they can turn it on at any point. We've seen them go tit for tat with Liverpool, where this team can literally go a stretch of games without losing. Like, it's incredible what we saw in the seasons gone by. They'd go 10, 15 games. Liverpool would win 14, City would win 15. They will do whatever it takes to beat their opponent, even if it means ones that have never been seen before in football. But can Arsenal beat that? Well, this City team is not invincible. I've said it before on this channel. They added Haaland, etc., but they've lost key players on positions. Sterling, Gabriel Jesus, and Zinchenko were big role players for them, and they've replaced them with decent players. Alvarez, for example. Haaland, of course, we know has been amazing this season. But the overall structure of the team, I think, has got worse. Has the squad on paper got better? Yes. But I think the actual structure of the team and how they're cohesive and playing together, I think it's got worse. And someone like Fernandinho, for example, has been a big miss for that team. The whole Man City team seems to be structured around Haaland now, which I don't think is Pep Guardiola's style. He likes to build a team-oriented side. They like to play around with the ball a lot. But I feel like if Haaland doesn't get involved, Man City don't win games. They're trying to force it into Haaland. The brothers scored over 20 goals this Premier League season so far, so it's probably a good tactic. But when Haaland's not involved and when Haaland's not scoring, the Man City team can't seem to get goal contributions from other players, and I think that's a really bad sign, because all it takes is a Haaland injury and it could go a little pear-shaped. Or it could be a blessing in disguise, because with Haaland out the team, it means Man City can adapt and play how they've been playing in previous seasons, where they didn't have a recognised number 9 striker and were annihilating the whole Premier League. So, is this Haaland transfer, even though it's weird to say given he's scored over 20 Premier League goals, actually been like a curse in a way to Man City? Who knows? Let's look at the Premier League table now, because I think let's move on to that, because that's an important part of this argument, because I do believe if Man City were ahead of Arsenal right now, no one would be even talking about Arsenal's winning the Premier League. The fact we are ahead by 7 points is the reason people are talking about Arsenal winning this Premier League. I look at Man City, right, and the gap is 7. That is about 2.5 games, meaning that Arsenal can afford to lose 2 games and still be top of the Premier League table. This Man City team is not invincible. Manchester United, who've had a horrible start to the season, are now only 4 points behind Manchester City, playing the exact same number of games. Like, people talking about how Man City are going to challenge for the title. Bro, like, United, who are in 4th place, are 4 points off them. United are closer to City than City are to Arsenal. Arsenal right now are in a league of their own in terms of the current Premier League table. There's no one that's near us in terms of the results we're picking up, the form we're on. We're winning games with people who are just waiting for us to slip up. It's almost as if saying, tough away at Brighton, Arsenal will lose that game. No, we don't. We're playing, for example, first game back from Boxing Day, no Jesus, or it could be a tough game against West Ham side. We win that game as well. Arsenal just seem to be rolling on and rolling on no matter what trials and tribulations come our way. And it's a massive credit to Arteta, the coaching staff, and the team. I'm seeing a dedicated team in there. I already saw in post-match interviews, these men have been drilled well. Arteta gets asked, are you in a title race? 1 game at a time. We just have to focus on ourselves. Bukayo Saka and Ødegaard get quizzed as well. Oh, you must be getting excited. You're 7 points clear. You're playing so well. Man City slipped up again. We just have to focus on ourselves. That's the response every single time. This team knows that as long as Arsenal deal with their business, we will get our job done. And that's a massive change. I feel like in previous seasons, because we've been always just so close to other teams, we've been looking left and right. Oh, what are Tottenham doing? Oh, what Man United doing? Oh, they won here, they lost here. And the pressure gets to us, and then we also seem to replicate losses or draws. Whereas this season, we know that if we focus on ourselves and do what we need to do, our future is in our hands. So even though Man City dropped points and Newcastle dropped points earlier in games where they were fully expected to win, we still got out there. And out of the toughest game of the 3 sides, Arsenal, Man City and Newcastle, Arsenal had the toughest game against Brighton and Hove Albion away from home. We still did what we need to do and put in the most convincing performance and got the 3 points. And we keep rolling on forwards. Let's look at the fixtures now, because at the end of the day, we're top of the table right now, but there's still a long way to go. Let's look at the January and February fixtures, starting with Arsenal Football Club. Of course, tomorrow, Newcastle United at home. Massive, massive game. I feel slightly more confident about this game. I always felt confident, but I feel more confident now that we know that Newcastle dropped points to Leeds. It was their first time dropping points, I believe, 6 Premier League games or 7 Premier League games. That side was on fire. So I think Leeds slightly popped that bubble a little bit for Newcastle. And I think if we win, could be a dagger in Newcastle, and we could start to see them. They won't slip too far down the table, but I think they will go a little bit back more to reality, because they have been on unbelievable form so far this season. Newcastle at home, though, it's a decent game for Arsenal. I think we can expect to win that. But our next 2 games, Tottenham Hotspur away, will be tough. I'm going to be honest, I don't know if we're going to win that game, no matter how well we're playing. Is Tottenham away from home? Even though Tottenham are playing disastrous football, lost yesterday to Aston Villa, they always seem to do the job on us at White Hart Lane. We never seem to get the 3 points. Last time I remember us doing so was when Rosicky scored literally the first minute. I remember that game like it was yesterday. But can we get a result at Tottenham? I think it's a really good time to play them. I remember last season we were meant to play Tottenham around this time as well, but we delayed the game because of like COVID, for example, to end up playing literally like 2 weeks before the season ended, and we bottled it. We lost 3-0, horror show. I think this is a really good time to play Tottenham. Tottenham are struggling under Conte. They can't seem to piece together a good performance. They're not getting wins recently. Opposed to us, we're absolutely flying at the moment. So I think in a couple weeks' time, that game will come at a really good time for Arsenal Football Club to hopefully get a result. And I think it'll be the best time possible to play this Tottenham side. Then straight after, the week after that, we play Manchester United at home. Of course, the only team we've lost to so far in the Premier League this season. Man United, this season have been good. I've said it from before, I think they're going to make the top 4. They've been really good this season. Since those first 2 losses, at home to Brighton and away to Brentford, that Brentford one actually changed everything at United Football Club. It was a massive wake-up call to the team, to the players. They've got rid of Ronaldo now, so that whole situation is put to bed. Rashford is firing on all cylinders. We need to lock up that game, but I think at home, we'll get 3 points. We seem to do a number over Man United recently at home, and I think if this game was at Old Trafford, we'd struggle, but I think at home, we'll be alright. So I'm looking at these next 3 Premier League games, because I don't really care about the FA Cup one. Newcastle at home, Tottenham away, and United at home. If we can get 7 out of 9 points, I will be delighted. I'll snap your hand off for that. A win at Newcastle, a win at United, and a draw at White Hart Lane, we take that 100%. Then we move into our next fixtures. Everton away. Everton have been struggling this season, but make no mistake about it, that is a tough, tough game. We always seem to drop points away to Everton. Think about last season when Damari Gray scored a last-minute absolute wonder strike to beat us. We need to do a job over Everton. I know normally you're saying seasons go by, a draw away from home at tough Everton, Goodison Park will be a good result. When you're chasing a league, we need to get a win. I don't care that Man City dropped points to Everton. We need to beat that side. Then we go home to Brentford. Brentford also beat Man City, but I'm expecting the Emirates to get 3 points there. Then it feeds into that Man City game at home, which will be a massive midweek game, a reschedule after that game got postponed earlier in the year before the World Cup. This is massive. I honestly think right now on form, we do the job over City at home. I think if this is at the Etihad, it's a long day for us. I think we hold corn. But I think at the Emirates, we do the job over Man City right now as both teams are playing. I think we're good enough to beat this Man City squad. And if we beat Man City on that game, I believe a lot of people will turn their heads and say Arsenal are favourites. For me right now, I think Arsenal are favourites for this Premier League. I really, really do. But still a lot of pundits, because of they've got like bias from previous seasons. I understand it to an extent. They're saying, Man City will still win the league. Arsenal are going to capitulate. Because they're kind of banking on two things happening. Arsenal doing what they normally do, which is capitulate towards the second half of the season. And Man City doing what they normally do is go on an amazing run. So as long as both those two things happen, Man City will win the league. But if one of those two things happen, because of the gap Arsenal have, the 7-point gap, there's still a chance Arsenal win the league. And I just can't see both of those things happening. Of course it could, and it's very likely it could. But I just don't see us as the same team from a couple of seasons back that would wilt under losing one game. I think we've got a good enough team and a good enough mentality in our squad, adding the likes of Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus, to have steel in this team and be able to fight back even if we do drop points. I said it earlier on in the season. When we lost to Man United, I said, look, we've lost away to Old Trafford in a tough game. It is what it is. For me, I'm not worried about this. I look at next week when we play. At the time, it was Everton. That unfortunately got postponed because of the Queen's passing. It ended up being Brentford away. So I said the next game is when it matters to me. If we bounce back and win that next game convincingly, this game doesn't mean anything that we lost to United. If we then go on to lose our next game, that's when you know this game against United was bad, because it ended up costing us 6 points rather than 3, as it has done in previous seasons. We lose to Spurs, we end up losing to Newcastle. We lose to Palace, we end up losing to Brighton and Southampton. Every loss last season followed more losses. It was like a relapse. Whereas this season, we've got a bit of a bounce back ability to us. So if we lose one game, we bounce back and we win that next game. That's what Pep Guardiola's side's been doing over previous years. And that's what I can see this Arsenal side doing. Because as long as you follow a loss with 2 wins, it's all right. It's all good in the hood. We just can't afford to lose games and then lose back to back to back and make it become like a domino effect. But yeah, I'm going to go up to that Man City games. I think that will be an important point. If we beat Man City come 15th of February, the Gary Nevilles of the world, the Jamie Carragher's of the world, the Sky Sports, BT Sport pundits will think and go, hold on a minute, we've underestimated this Arsenal side. They actually could go all the way. Let's look at Man City's fixtures now. So of course, they start Chelsea. Away they go to Stamford Bridge on Thursday. Of course, Arsenal play first on Tuesday, so it could be already a 10-point gap before City go to Chelsea. Chelsea is struggling. Let's be completely honest. That side is dead food, man. They couldn't be Nottingham Forest, but it's Chelsea. Anything can happen at Stamford Bridge, man. We know we beat them earlier on. We played really good football, but even then it was a tough game. Like, we got a good goal. It could be a lucky goal from a Gabriel scoring from a corner. I do expect City to win this game, I'm going to be honest. I think at least they get a point. Even a point I'll take, but I do expect City to get through this game and win this. Then they also play Chelsea in the FA Cup, let's not worry about that. They also play in the Carabao Cup, let's not worry about that. Then they go to United away. I think United get the job done over City. I really do. I think they get at least a point at home to Manchester City. United look good this season. Really good. Now, I think at home they won't lose this Manchester derby. So I really do think United will get a point at least over City. So provided Arsenal win against Newcastle and can afford to drop points to Spurs, we could be in the same position as City anyway. Then City do play Tottenham at home. Tottenham over recent years have had the number over City. They did a double over them last season. Do I think it'll get repeated this season? Unfortunately not. I think Tottenham aren't good enough this season to get any points from Man City. And I think in the back of their minds they'll go, you know what, yeah, they shouldn't do this, but I think they'll think, you know what, we got to let City win in a way. We can't let Arsenal win this Premier League. Tottenham would rather finish out the top 4 than have Arsenal win the Premier League. I'm telling you that for a fact. All Tottenham fans, the Tottenham players might not, because they might not care as much as the fans do. But if you ask any Tottenham fan on the street, would you rather finish top 4 and Arsenal win the league, or you don't finish top 4 but Arsenal don't win the league? They will take the second option 10 days out of 10. I'm telling you, every single time. So in the back of their heads, Tottenham might let City do the double over them. Then they go at home to Wolves. That'll be a banker. 3 points for sure. Then they go away to Tottenham. Also, I think they'll win that game at White Hart Lane. Everyone seems to pick up points there. And then they go home to Aston Villa, which of course Unai Emery could do the job for us, but they're expected to win that match before they then go to the Emirates. So for City, their tough game is United away and to an extent Tottenham away. Whereas Arsenal's tough game is United at home and Tottenham away. So it's kind of even fixtures in that respect, I think, for both sides. So it will honestly come down to who can sustain their form. Arsenal got the head start right now. We're P1 on the podium, where City are like on P3, whatever. Like they're a little bit behind. They've got like a 5-second gap to us. We just need to sustain our form, and we need to make sure we've got the right players in place. There's hopefully don't get any injuries, because that really could be a like game changer for this whole thing. But I think we've got more enough momentum to carry on and to win this Premier League. And then we need to get an addition in January. Hopefully Mudryk. I just made a video on him. I've made so many videos on this guy. If we can get him involved as well, that's a massive, massive improvement. Just to psychologically boost the squad as well. Whereas I think City are making some additions, but not household names. But yeah, overall, let me know in the comment section down below whether you believe Arsenal will win the league. I'm going to end this video by saying I do believe Arsenal will win the Premier League this season. Because another point I didn't even touch upon is that the fact that City's still yet to win the Champions League. And if there ends up being like about a 7-point gap come when the Champions League restarts, City might sack the Premier League and go, you know what? We're going to go all in for this Champions League. They might end up resting someone like De Bruyne on Premier League games so he's fit for the Champions League midweek games. You never know. Something like that could happen. But yeah, I really do believe Arsenal are going to win the Premier League this season. I think it's the best chance we're going to get in a long, long time. And we're playing beautiful football right now. And no one's yet to stop us, it seems. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you're new around here, make sure you subscribe down below. If you love Arsenal and just football news in general, I've been Football and hope to see you all in my next video.